Hello everyone, introduce myself. My name is Nujana. I'm from class R1D. And in this opportunity, I would like to tell you about my article under title Liberal Education. And that's my opinion. As the times have changed, the concepts that have developed in the world have undergone various change. This influenced by mindset that developed in certain times. There are contradictions that are always fighting and alternately dominating people's thinking patterns. Liberal education often puts forward its aim to teach students to be able to think, not just knowing what to think. Liberal education can be learned by paying attention to the phenomena of life around us as humans. An example in analyzing, for example, why a poor community according to the liberal education verdict is because the poor community itself is wrong. That is, they are lazy, don't have entrepreneurship, or don't have a development culture, and so on. The root of this education is liberalism, which is a view that empowers capacity building, protecting rights and freedom. This liberal influence is seen in education, which prioritizes achievement through a process of competition between students. Ranking to determine the best student is the implication of this understanding of education. There is an example of current liberal education which is affected by COVID-19. Students are required to be as creative as possible in using exciting media at home, such as smartphones, laptops, or tabs, so they can still learn. Because of the consequences of this pandemic, education has been hampered. Students are not allowed to learn face to face, and the government proposed that learning from a distance is also known PJJ, or distance learning. Students are required to be able to study independently at home with the exciting facilities. And teachers are also required to make material and explain it to students by online. However, it's seen from the positive side. Of course, this can help creativity for both teacher and student. However, if there is a positive side, of course there is a negative side to this liberal education system. The negative side of this liberal education, this is liberal education is the inability of students to understand and listen independently. For some students who are accustomed to being taught first by their teachers, they must have difficulty understanding listen with this liberal education system. Meanwhile, the negative impact of distance learning is of course that from the constraints of children who don't have media for distance learning, for example, smartphone, laptops, obstacles in terms of signal in remote areas where it's very difficult to get a signal. There are many negative sides of liberal education for now with distance learning methods. As explained, there are not only the limitation of students in learning media, signal or difficulty, students are also required to understand learning that is only given through their smartphone. Not only students who experience distance learning difficulties, teachers also experience the same thing. There are teachers who are old but are required to understand digital things in today's era. In today's era, are required to make material as creative and clear as possible so that student can understand the lesson. The signal distress was not only felt by students but also by teachers. and my experience in running this liberal education system during the 2013 curriculum. During the 2013 curriculum, the teachers told their students to be active in class, actively discussing and actively answering questions, and competing to get satisfactory grade and compete to get the best ranking. Students like me in 2013 curriculum are quite shocking because I'm the type of person who must be explained first by new teachers to understand. And my suggestion for this liberal education system to teachers or lecturers is that if you have to look for the material yourself, at least tell us first what we were looking for. Tell it by specifically so that there is no confusion in understanding the material and to look for. Give assignment according to the capacity of student. Give assignment according to the capacity of student. For the world of education, this situation is certainly accompanied by the emergence of positive and negative impacts, both internal to education itself and society in general. The positive value of this dynamic can be seen in change in the way of life, the way of thinking, and the ability of humans to meet needs of life improve their welfare. And that's all my opinion about this liberal education. And the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke, ada bunyinya lagi tadi.
Hi everyone, my name is Alafadia Shauki. I'm from class R1D. My NPM is 2020415 So here I wanna explain about liberalization of education, abuse of national dignity. Introduction. Introduction. Liberalism is an understanding with three main bases that was put forward by a philosopher named John Locke, namely life, liberty, and property. First, life, which John Locke means is life, which means that the state must be present to protect individual life. The second, property, means ownership. According to John Locke, the state must protect the goods owned by an individual, and the individual has the right to use the good to achieve happiness. The third title means freedom, which according to John Locke, the individual has freedom and the state is obligated to protect it. Meanwhile, another way to protect freedom is through free trade. Meanwhile, another way to protect freedom is through free trade. After the end of the First World War, the World Trade Organization, or WTO, emerged, and technological development coupled with globalization had accelerated the spread of liberalism by encouraging each WTO member country to carry out liberalization and deregulation. B. Data collection method and technique. First, research method. In conducting research, of course, a research method is needed, where the method itself is a systematic way used to achieve goals, while the research method is a set of procedures and activities used by actors of a discipline in conducting research, like a science, international relations, or as a social science group has its own method. The second is data collection technique. The technique used in the research is through literature study, namely the technique of using literature, namely reading material used in various activities, both intellectually and in recreational journals, namely a collection of scientific research results, books, and then the data is taken and using data from online search, namely data research. Data is cyberspace using websites that can be trusted. C. Tracing the concept of liberalization of education. Liberalization of education in Indonesia is carried out at the upper middle level and starts from Indonesian participation in the WTO forum, which means then that is the forum there is a GATT agreement on liberalization in the service sector, which has been ratified by Indonesia. History records that the liberalization of higher education in Indonesia is an obligation and commitment for Indonesia to become a member of the WTO since 1994, manifested by the willingness to sign the GATT, which is an agreement on trade and service for WTO members, and in record relativity the participation. As for the meaning of ratification itself is the making of legal agreements that are manifested by laws or another regulation. D. Conclusion. As long as the government sided with the forces of liberalization in education under the guises of globalization and the free market, what would happen was the elimination of the role of a nation in educating people's life, because the forces that exist in educational liberalization, as explained above, encourage individual stretch, encourage market mechanism to community is lured by curative programs, and the market is considered the wisest decision maker. Education, which should be the fusion of a humanist, tolerant, friendly, and respectful life among fellow nationals, has changed position into merchandise to seek momentary happiness individually and in groups. Indicators that can be detected from the elimination of the role of a nation can be seen if the community is screaming for the high cost of education and the high cost of other basic needs, which are the direct result of the liberalization of education. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisyah Nadira Salma. My APM 202041500219. I'm from R1D class. In this video, I want to explain my essay on liberal education. In my opinion, a liberal education is the kind of education that allows the student to choose freely what they want to learn. In here, we can talk how we are responsible, discipline, critical thinking, teamwork, professional, high commitment, and sensitive to social cultural life. In here, we like being prepared for a bright future. Liberal education gives students the flexibility, knowledge, wisdom to pursue their interests, and gives some opportunity to study business, design, humanity, and social science, technology, fashion, laws, and much more, all during their studies. We might be free to learn anything, but this freedom also has its limit. Don't break the rules of religion and state. Okay, sorry if there is word wrong. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Amelia Septiani Aziza. In this video, I will share my experience about the education. My experience during the education is a very pleasant because in my opinion, the education system in Indonesia gives a freedom to students to be able to search for information about learning material freely so that students can more easily understand the theory presented by the teacher. We are also given the freedom to access the internet if it is necessary, because if there is practice or material that is not understand, we are allowed to search the internet because it is an example for us. During my education, I was also very comfortable because I was given the freedom to express opinions, and each student was free to express their own idea in learning, so that I think this freedom can be an opportunity for us to develop our abilities. Next, the benefit of education that I get are getting freedom of opinion or giving rebuttals if there is an inaccurate discussions. The opportunity to develop is given space to try new things that will foster new potential and explore the abilities of each student at once as educators or teachers as possible. Learning methods that are easy to understood by students, especially during a pandemic like this. Online learning requires accuracy and is able to think critically and effectively to be able to carry out this online learning easily and understand all the material provided, even if not face-to-face learning, and the shortcomings of the education that I got. Especially when a pandemic occurs, the public and educators really need facilities to facilitate online learning. There are many obstacles that are felt by students or educators, one of which is the obstacle that is often blocked by signals, and so that it will greatly affect the learning process, make it difficult for students to understand the learning material. And in Indonesia, there are still many underprivileged people, so that many students who don't have smartphone cannot participate in online learning. My advice to the government and also to Mr. Nadiem Makarim as the Minister of Education of the Republic of Indonesia, so that face-to-face learning is carried out immediately, because to overcome various obstacles to online learning by dividing learning hours of and the number of students at each learning time, and maintaining a strict head protocol discipline. Well, everyone, thank you for watching my video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Anissa Vita Ramadanti. In this video, I will explain about liberal education. Liberal education is an educational system or course that is suitable for growing free humans. Liberal here show freedom and the elimination of barriers in education. Everything becomes integrated into a unity. Liberal education requires us to understand the foundation of knowledge and how to understand nature, how to understand culture and society, who master core skills, perception, analysis, and experience that instill a respect for truth, that realize the importance of historical meaning and cultural context, and who is able to explore relationship. between formal learning, citizenship, and our service to society. A truly liberal education is one that prepares us to live responsibly and to live productively and creatively in an era of a world that is constantly changing dramatically. Of course, liberal education cannot be separate from the positive and negative sides, especially in relation to the dimension of human development. The development of science and technology, which mostly provides broad benefits to mankind, is also the result of the liberalization of education. That is all I can say, more or less apologize. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Sekanandarini Yulianti from Biology R1D. My student number 202041500284. I will discuss about liberal education as well as advantage and disadvantage. Education has an important role in the development of one's ability as a means to gain knowledge that will become a profession in life in the community. William O'Connell divided the ideology of education into two types, namely conservative ideology and liberal ideology. In the Great Dictionary of Indonesian Language, or KBB 2020, liberal means free, free-sided, and open-minded. So, liberal education is an education that carries freedom as its ideology. The ideology of liberal education is based on the concept of modernization in the West. Before discussing about liberal education, we must understand the term of liberalism. Liberalism is an ideology that clarifies freedom, where the existence of individual and his freedom are greatly exalted. Liberalism produces understanding of democracy or politics, and capitalism or economics consists of three fundamental values. There are life, freedom, and property. Liberal education tends to be individualistic in this system. The country doesn't guarantee education when not in the public domain. Therefore, education is synonymous with people who have a lot of money. If you don't have money, you can go to school or college. Liberal education was capitalistic. Education is like a factory for workers. Students are tainted by the idea that the school is only looking for work, or explicitly, it's to make money. As a system, liberal education has an impact. Here are the impacts of liberal education. First, the positive impact. The positive impact of this system is definitely related to the dimensions of human development. It's look at the change in way of life, way of thinking, and human ability to improve its well-being. The development of science and technology also an advantage. Then, the modernity of education rescue society from backwardness. Liberal education has replaced conservative view towards a free and open-minded. However, liberal education also has a negative impact. Liberalism that originally started from the sense of humanist lead to dehumanization. It caused by poor education as a support for capital turnover. As a result, each individual losing his existence. Traditional and cultural values will be displaced. In view the ups and downs of the education, it is necessary to reform education policies that are popular. By paying attention and considering that education in line with the consensus of its people is an education that can realize welfare and social justice for all Indonesian people. In the opening of the 1945 Constitution, it was stated that the purpose of education is to educate the lives of all Indonesians. Thus, the main responsibility of the government is to provide equitable and affordable access to all levels of society, open the widest opportunity for community to be able to get equal educational facilities, and regulate the education process through regulation and policies that support Indonesia's development goals. Okay, that's all my opinion about liberal education. I hope you understand my pronunciation. I'm sorry if I made mistakes. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Januari Ibnu Hermanto and I'm from R1D class. In this video, I will present the result of my writing on liberal education. As paradigm of thinking and society, the implication of liberalism for education can be seen in the massive shift in paradigm and educational models, starting from orientation, learning field, and learning pattern. The liberal education paradigm, the main focus lies on how to make students have the ability so that they can compete in the mind of the system that applies to society. However, the increasing dynamic of humanity in certain situations often shifts the dignity of humanity to longer as a control of science and technology product, but the upside. Liberalism, which was originally intended to humanize human, has reversed direction, where humans are increasingly dehumanized by their own work. Interestingly, this educational ideology is currently developing in the minds of a global society. Okay, that's presentation for me, and thanks for watching. And I say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Dinavita. My NPM 202041500214. My class is R1D. In this video, I will explain a little about liberal education. In my opinion, regenerating this liberal education, the cultivation of community reconstruction, following a truly human path that fully emphasizes the unique potential of each person as a human being who puts reason a thought or opinion. The broad goal of liberal education is develop the potential for generation. We know that every individual has the skills and strengths of each, so education not only requires us to think effectively, but also helps us find our true selves through field that we enjoy. But in the sense that has been discussed, freedom does not mean arbitrarily doing something that is out of course, but freedom here is the freedom to develop the potential of each child. To achieve the goals he hopes for later as student, the freedom to take this action, of course, must be based on the support or encouragement for parents or teacher, so that there is an agreement on the action we take. Okay, I'm sorry if there is a wrong word. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Diana Tarawa. In PM 202041500242. I come from Biology R1D class. Liberal education is a deliberate effort to always direct its goals toward change in student in the form of knowledge, habits, skill, and attitude. General education is basically a part of education in general, which was historically born as a development of the concept of liberal education, which is educational effort that emphasizes the liberation of humans from ignorance and backwardness. Is learning using a medium that allows interaction between teachers and learners. In PGG, between teachers and learners do not meet face to face. In other words, it is possible between teachers and learners in different places even can be separated by a very long distance. In the process, of learning English for one semester one, I as a student of course have experienced a difficulty in learning English due to the incomprehension of English pronunciation, which is expressed at normal speed through listening material. I think in the lack of knowledge of reading materials and not knowing how to relate ID idea between sentences to one another. The difficulty of learning English in the following four skills: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. The factors that cause difficulty in learning English are very much influenced by the level of language mastery of each student. And in one semester, learning English is not only the difficulty encountered in learning, but of course, there are later and fun things that become motivation for learning English, namely learning English so that you can speak to foreigners fluently, and and to understand the song, films, and books. English is also very important for international travel. Most of the information the states disseminates about themselves outside their boundaries is in English. English is spoken in major hotels and tourist attractions, at airports, and in shops frequently by tourists. Therefore, it is very important for someone to learn to speak English. Well, that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.